Welcome to Author Nation. I am Melody Ann, and in today's video I want to talk to you about something called narrator neutrality. Who's your narrator in your story, and are they neutral? Alright, every story has a person who's narrating, or it doesn't have to be a person, but every story has a narrator. And that narrator is never neutral. So it doesn't exist. This whole idea of narrator neutrality. Stop pretending. Stop trying to report, pick a side and tell the story. And it's okay if your audience knows the side you're on. It's okay. You are not neutral. So we think about, narrators. It's the first person. I this, I that, I this, I that. Second person, you this, you that, you this, you that. It's a very unusual narrator is the second person. It's usually the first person or the third person. He this, he that, she this, she that. So when you're using I, and often that's when you're doing personal storytelling. You're telling a personal story. It's about you. You are the full participant in the story, and you are biased because this is your story. And so be biased, and it's okay. And if you're trying not to be biased, you can say, I was trying not to be biased, but I was really judging this person. That's fine. That's part of your story. So that's the I, right? And so if you're writing a story about another character, but you're pretending I, then they're biased. That person is biased. Work out what their bias is and allow that. And so then there's the third person, he, she, they. People often use this. They want to be, godlike, and I don't really have an opinion. That's just not true. So let's look at some narrator styles. First off, the unreliable narrator. The unreliable narrator either doesn't understand fully or is making assumptions or draws conclusions that aren't accurate. Usually they do not think of themselves as unreliable, but sometimes they do. Children are often unreliable because they don't fully understand a situation. A good example of an unreliable narrator in a movie is Memento. I don't know if you've ever seen Memento. But it's a guy who's lost his memory and he's trying to figure out a mystery and he's writing notes, and every day he wakes up, there's a new note and he's trying to piece it all together. He is completely unreliable and he knows it. So the detached narrator. I don't believe narrator. I have no stake in this narrator. That's what you're usually looking for if you're doing a documentary, right? The documentarian often tries to detach themselves from the story so that they can give a fair, just version of the story. They're still not neutral. They still have biases. They're just trying to remove them. The intrusive narrator interrupts the story to provide commentary. In theater, this is called breaking the fourth wall, because there are 1, 2, 3, then there's the audience here, and this is the fourth wall in theater. And so if someone on stage suddenly stops and talks to the audience, they are breaking the fourth wall, and they are now becoming an intrusive narrator, right? They're narrating now. They're not in the play. They're now narrating, and they're intrusive. An intrusive narrator interrupts the story to provide commentary. The God narrator, the all-knowing, I know everything. That's what I call the God narrator. Doesn't make them reliable. Just because they know everything doesn't mean they don't have a bias, doesn't mean they're going to be honest with you. So remember that when it comes, you're trying to be that like all-knowing, I don't have an opinion narrator. You're really not. You have a bias. Work it out. Understand it. Know where you're coming from. The naive narrator. Very similar to the unreliable narrator, but the naive narrator just isn't complex enough to understand. And this is often children. And I have a little story for you on this. My mother, a very long time ago, used to look after children when she was just out of college. And one day, this little boy picked up a doll like this, and he was walking along. And my mom said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm playing daddy." And so like, "What is daddy doing?" Because he was carrying a baby. So she thought, well, maybe he's carrying the baby up. "Oh, well, I'm carrying the nanny upstairs to my room." And my mother's like, "Oh." So the child was not complex enough to understand what type of information he was giving to my mother about what was going on in the family home. So naive narrators, just not complex enough. Okay, the self-conscious narrator calls attention to self, knows they're the narrator and feels kind of awkward about it, right? Well, here I am telling you this story, and that's the self-conscious narrator. So, and I'm sure there are lots and lots of more types of narrators, but the point is, think about your narrator. Think about who they are. If it's you, if it's a character, think about their biases. Think about how they see the world, because they are never, ever neutral. Be aware of it, use it to your advantage, be honest and fair about it, and own up to who you are as the narrator. All right, that's about being a narrator in a story. You are never neutral. If you'd like more videos about storytelling, in the description I will drop a playlist for you. So go enjoy more storytelling tips and hints there.